Hello everyone, welcome back. So here is the question, which one is better, the terminal wizard or the visual editor? I've been using Claude Code and Cursor across my real projects for quite a while now. But if you ever try to figure out which tool is right for you, chances are you're running into articles or videos that make it very complicated than it needs to be. So in this video, I'm going to keep it very simple. I'll tell you exactly what these tools are, how they work, and what they are great at. And most importantly, which one actually fits your workflow. Stick around because at the end, I'll tell you which one of these tools saved me hours and hours of time. And yeah, it might surprise you. So yeah, let's get into it. Both Claude Code and Cursor are AI code generation tools, meaning they can write your code, write brand new code, or fix bugs in your already existing code, or review your code based on your need. But the main difference is Claude Code lives in your terminal, and Cursor is a fork of Visual Studio Code. They integrated all the AI features into it. We'll talk about Claude Code and Cursor individually now. Now let's dive into Claude Code and see how it works. So before jumping into this terminal wizard called Claude Code, let me tell you a short story. So early in my career, I used to work with this guy called Andy. So Andy is a senior engineer, of course. Whenever I needed help with debugging an issue, I would go to him and ask him, hey Andy, could you help me resolve this? He would open his terminal and run all these complicated shell commands. It was like watching a wizard at work. I had no clue what half of it meant, but he always fixed the issue. Claude Code just feels like that. It's like having your own Andy in your terminal, always sharp, always ready to help. All right, enough of my own stories. Let's jump in. For today's demonstration, I will use one of my personal projects called Goal to Achievement Performance Evaluation, called GAPE. As you can see, this is a performance evaluation app. Here, you can manage goals, add your personal goals, and then log your achievements. Like whenever you achieved one of your goals, you can log the achievement. And then AI analytics is where AI will look at your goals and achievements and then analyze it where you are and what needs to be done to achieve that goal. We will use Claude and Cursor to improve this application. This looks very basic, right? Like it looks like a kid app. So let's make it more visually appealing and then, interactive. So now I'm in the terminal and I also navigated to my personal project, the one I showcased before called Gape. So I already set up my Claude. So I come here and type Claude. So this will launch the Claude in your terminal. Now we are in the Claude Code terminal. So we launch Claude Code in this brand new project, right? So Claude doesn't have any idea about what this project is, what it does, and all that. So now we'll ask Claude to learn about the project. So there is a command for that. Claude has this slash commands, and you can use those slash commands to do different kinds of operation. We'll talk about some of the important commands here, but let's start with one called the init. So you can type slash and then init. What it does is it'll learn about your project and create a file called ClaudMD file. ClaudMD file is where all your context about this project will live. So whenever you come to this project again, it will use that ClaudMD file as a reference. So you don't need to run init command every time you want to work with Claude. All right, let's run the init command. It's basically analyzing the code base and creating the ClaudMD file. So it's going through all the directories and files, trying to figure out how everything is working and all that. So it's also created its own to-do files and then marking them. See, now I guess it's reading the package.json file and then updating once it finishes that particular task. All right, it created a markdown file which has development commands, individual component development, build commands, testing quality, project architecture, and all that good stuff. And then it's asking for my permission to create the ClaudMD file. So I'll say, yeah, create it and don't ask this again. So now it created the ClaudMD file. So before asking Claude to improve our Gape application, I'm gonna spend some time explaining some of the slash commands. So when you type backslash, you'll see all these slash commands here. So let's talk about some of the important slash commands that you need to get started with. Clear will clear the conversation history to free up the context. Compact is different from clear. It will clear the conversation history, but keep a summary in the context. That way you can pass this context to a next person or the next developer, whoever wants to continue working on this project. Config is where you set up a configuration for the Claude. For example, so this is my configuration panel. This is where you can set up different things, your theme, which modal it has to use, whether it needs to use the to-do list or not, and all that stuff. And then the cost. Cost is how many tokens you use and how much money you spend so far. Doctor will diagnose and verify your Claude installation status. If you're having trouble using Claude, Doctor will tell you what happened and what to do to fix it. Exit will exit the Claude. And modal is where set up which modal you want to use. Opus, Sonnet, or any other custom models you want to use. All right, I think that should be enough to get going with the Claude Code. Like I mentioned, I'm going to make a full video of the slash commands in the future, so that way I can spend more time explaining each of these individual slash commands. All right, let's get to work. So now I'm going to take a screenshot of my current status of my application and pass it here, and then ask Claude Code to improve it. Hey Claude, so this is my current status of my web application. Like you see, it's very basic, right? It looks like a kid application. I want it to be more visually appealing. I mean, what I'm thinking is maybe we can add some kind of visual progress bars to show the progress of each and individual goals, and also change the theme. I don't like the theme. I don't like the emojis quite well. Maybe like add different kinds of emojis and maybe make it in a dark mode. So I don't like the current mode. Change the mode and also make it more interactive in general. All right, let's see what it does. All right, seems like it's reading all the files related to our UI components here. It created its own to-do list for adding dark mode theme. That's awesome. Add visual progress bars and charts. Great. All right, seems like it finished. It says it added the dark mode, enhanced progress visualization, modern UI components, interactive elements, design enhancements. But yeah, let's see how it looks. Well, it didn't quite work. I had an error. So I'm pasting my error here. All right, seems like it fixed the issue. Let's see how it looks. This is awesome. I like it. So it added the progress circles here and all the emojis are changed. It added the dark mode. This is awesome. I like it, but let's see what cursor will do. All right, now we are in the cursor territory. I also opened the goal tracker application. On the left side, you'll see all the project files. On the right side, you'll see the AI chat window. To open the AI chat window, you need to press Command L. This should be pretty familiar if you're already using Visual Studio Code. So like I mentioned, Cursor is the fork of the Visual Studio Code. They integrated all the AI feature inside the Visual Studio Code editor. So I made a full video about how Cursor works, and I also designed the AI time capsule application. Please go watch it if you haven't already. But yeah, let's get into it. This is how it goes. Cursor doesn't have any idea about what project it is and then how it works and all that. So the first thing is to ask Cursor to learn about it. Once it learned about it and has all the context about this project, we'll ask it to improve like we did it with the Claude Code. Hey Cursor, so we're going to make some awesome changes to this project. I want you to learn about each and every detail of it. Just go learn about this project and figure it out what it is doing, how it is doing, and then we'll talk about adding some awesome features to it. So now let's started exploring the project, and I will talk about how this Cursor and Claude Code will learn about your project in a bit. That's actually very interesting. Cursor and Claude Code read the code differently and they edit the code differently. All right, it looks like Cursor have all the context about the project, and then we'll ask you to run the project first and then start asking about the improvements. Awesome, let's go run the project. So it figured out it needs to install the dependencies. All right, so now it's running the application. So let's take a screenshot of the current status and ask it to improve. Hey Cursor, so I attached the current status of the web application. I want you to look at the image and then improve it. These are some of the improvements I want. I want you to add the dark mode. I want you to make this application visually appealing. Like I said, I don't like the emojis. So try to be creative with the emojis, make it more interactive, make it more visually appealing. I want to see some kind of progress bars for the achievements to feel how much percentage of the goals I achieved so far and all that. So please take a look at it and improve it. All right. All right, it started working on it. So it says it's going to implement the dark mode, replace emojis with modern icons, add interactive progress bars, make it more visually appealing overall. All right, let's see. So the main difference here is you can visually see the code differences. You can see what cursor is doing, what kind of code it is changing. You can accept it, reject it. I think it's worth to mention here. I put it in auto run. That means whenever it's running the shell commands, it won't ask for my permission. It just runs it. That way it feels more agentic. All right, seems like it finished. Let's see what it added. It says it added dark mode support, modern icon system, enhanced progress bars, motor design system, and interactive elements. Let's see how it looks. Damn, so it's pretty close to what Claude did. Claude had more circular progress bars. It has horizontal progress bars. That's all right. And then it added dark mode. That's cool. It changed the entire layout of my previous dashboard, which is pretty cool. Yeah, that's Cursor for you guys. So now let's talk about the main differences between the Claude Code and Cursor. So like I mentioned, the main difference is Claude Code lives in your terminal and Cursor is more like a Visual Studio Code. And just because Claude Code lives in your terminal, it's naturally good at running terminal commands like git. If you're a developer, you must have been using git a lot lately, right? Git is a CLI tool and everybody uses it, and Claude Code is specifically good at it because it runs in your terminal. And it's just not Git, like a lot of CLI tools, a lot of MCP tools, which runs good in the terminal. And then Claude Code is naturally good at it. Claude Code can handle linters, your shell commands, your test runners, your package builders, you name it. So it's naturally good at running command line tools. You don't need to leave the shell. You just type and it will handle it. On the other hand, Cursor lives in your Visual Studio Code. So that's the biggest advantage of Claude Code. But if you like Visual Studio Code, you're already using Visual Studio Code, Cursor could be something you will love it because it has both agent mode and ask mode. You can visually see what Cursor is doing because you're in the terminal itself, and then you'll see what files it's editing, what kind of code it is changing, and all that. Now I want to talk a little bit about how they will read your code, right? So Cursor use something called Merkle-tree. Here is how it works under the hood. So whenever you run Cursor in your project, it will index your code. Let's imagine your project root is a parent node and all individual files are nodes or leaf nodes, depends upon where they are. And when Cursor went ahead and changed something in one of the files, it won't need to change everything because each node has a hash code or a fingerprint. So it knows where exactly it changes and which file it's connected to. Every file in your project gets a unique fingerprint based upon what's in there. So if Cursor change a single character in your file, the entire fingerprint will change. So now imagine Cursor watching over these fingerprints like a security system. So instead of reading every file every time, it just checks the fingerprints. If nothing changes, it skips over. If something has changed, it immediately knows where to look. That's what makes Cursor so fast when you're jumping between the files. Claude, on the other hand, reads your entire project like you and me do. Read all files and build a mental model of what's going on. That takes a little more time to learn about your project. That's what's happening when you run init command in your current project. So that it just going to each and every file and reading file, what it is doing, and building up the mental model, the Claude MD file. So Claude has different plans for Claude Code. The Pro plan, which starts at $20 a month, I mean it will be $17 if you pay annually. But the limitation is you'll get 45 messages for each session and it resets every 5 hours. It's good for small projects, but the max mode, the $100 plan, gives you 20x more usage per session. That means like you don't need to stop and wait for more tokens and all that stuff. So that's how Claude works. So these are the Cursor plans. Cursor also starts at $20 per month, but it has very strict limitations. So Claude resets every 5 hours, right? The Pro plan, but Cursor resets every month. So they have certain amount of tokens per premium models like Claude, Sonnet, and Opus. And if you once you finished using those tokens, they will only reset the next month. There's a very hard limitation here. Another difference is with Cursor, you can work with different models, GPT, Gemini, Claude, and all that. But so when you think about this pricing perspective, I would prefer Claude over Cursor. One of the reason is Claude for Sonnet and Claude for Opus. Those are the main models that people use within Cursor because they are the great models for code generations and all that. Here are the main differences. Claude Code is for terminal lovers and Cursor is for editor folks. Claude Code is generally good for big code bases and code bases which require more terminal based workflows. And Cursor is good for small to medium projects and you feel like you have more control because you'll see what's going on because you're literally in IDE there. But I personally love Claude because I'm a terminal guy. All right, time for the big question. Which one saved my hours and hours of time last week? Even though I like Claude Code better in terms of their tool usage and the pricing, I personally use both of them together. So now we're in Cursor, but I open a terminal. I'm gonna type Claude here. This is how I use. So I'll get the best of both worlds, right? Now I know what Claude is changing. I can visually go and look at these files, how Claude is working. And I also have all the features that Claude can offer inside the terminal. This saves a lot of my time and I can get to work with my favorite AI code generation tool, which is Claude Code. All right, I know we only scratched the surface here. I try to keep things simple so you can get the feel for Claude Code and Cursor without diving deeper into the complicated things. This is just a starting point. I'll be making a follow-up video focused entirely on Claude Code, showing you some of the best practices and showing you how I use Claude Code to get the most out of it. Thank you so much for watching and see you in next one.